yeah, that's the main mapping software, the main GIS that's around, and that's really quite powerful. We're lucky now to have integrated a non-profit program that's been opened, that's been just started by the company that distributes ArcGIS, and which gives us access to almost free licenses, whereas before it was between $2,000 and $3,000 depending on the extensions and the functionalities that you wanted to have, so which was often a barrier to adopting that system. Obviously you still need training, but basically what happened in the past, we've been using this WHO Health Mapper tool, which is a simplified version of ArcGIS and customized to use in public health. And what I've seen is that, okay, we're in many places kind of reach the limits of that tool because it is very simple and its capabilities are limited. But it's a good stepping stone to now move on to something more comprehensive. And it's a little bit like if you want to do some even basic statistical analysis with Excel, you're very often very quickly limited. And it's like moving from Excel to SPSS for the researchers among us. So that's it's really it opens up many more possibilities. So we still need our GIS to do our access analysis and to really make some good thematic maps. What the GIS is not very good at is sharing data and publishing data, though there are more and more internet-based systems and interactions between your offline application, your desktop application, and a web-based map viewer where you can publish your maps. But that's really the strength of Google Earth and Google Maps. And just to give you an idea, sorry, this is a more traditional thematic map, which is, as I said, it's not just viewing one variable, but we've combined several data sets together. In this case, it shows availability and population distribution of confiance pill, oral contraceptives in Rwanda. This is based on a map survey. We had access to detailed population data by sector, so it's like a ward or a sub-district. They're fairly small. And what I tried to do here was to classify those sectors on a combination of both population density and availability of that specific product. And in order to, again, identify those sectors that should in theory be a priority where we should make sure that that product is available. So all the dark red ones are those with a high population density, but currently no products available. And then the layer on top of that, the yellow and the blue dots, show the number of potential outlets through which we can distribute this product. So anything that has a blue dot, we know that there is at least a pharmacy or a private clinic, because these products can only be distributed through medical outlets and not through any small kiosk. So, which means that if you find a red, luckily there are not that many, well, luckily maybe unfortunately there are not that many of them, but if you find a red sector with a blue dot, it should be fairly easy to get your product out there. Maybe it's just a matter of going to talk and convince that pharmacy or clinic owner to become one of your retailers. On the other hand, if you find a whole bunch of these red ones with a yellow dot, it means there's not a single pharmacy, not a single private clinic in that sector. Maybe rather than just saying, okay, we need to go to all those red ones, you first of all want to identify those that are further than a certain distance away. Here, this is just the northwest corner up here. We drew a 5-kilometer catchment area, or a buffer, around places that currently sell confiance pill. And through a stepwise procedure, you could then identify those red ones that are more than 5 kilometers away from the nearest provider. And well, again, maybe you need to find another distribution channel. Maybe you need to go through community-based distribution. Maybe you need to go have mobile vendors, or maybe you need to convince the government that you should have an option of going through the non-medical outlets, and provided maybe that they receive training and so on. So it could also help, to change existing policies, or to find innovative ways of making sure that people do have access to your product. But no, this is just a side slide, just to show, I guess, to show you that GIS still has a reason to be there and to be used. And obviously there's much more that you can do, much more advanced spatial analysis that we can apply. Again, as I said, they're kind of complementary, and you could imagine that you have your GPS data, that's always the basis, which you combine, which you move either through Excel, which you combine with your Google Earth data, which is all about map viewing. From there you can share and make your maps searchable on online Google Maps. You can edit maps through Google Map Maker, and that feeds into Google Maps and Google Earth. You can do your editing, analysis, reports. All this is the more traditional ArcGIS and other GIS software. And the blue line sort of shows the internet boundary. Everything up here is online, this is all offline. So hopefully this again shows how these different tools interact. And I'll make sure that these, I mean there's lots of arrows, I'll make sure that this is available to people who are interested in looking a little bit more in detail at these interactions. Really. Now, what data do you need? First of all, it all obviously depends on what you're doing and what you want to do, what you want to use your maps for, but typically you'd want to have maps that show your outlets, pharmacies and other traditional outlets, product availability in these places. Do they have condoms? Do they sell WaterGuard? Do they provide our specific service? Locations of your target groups, where are high-risk groups such as sex workers or MSM or other specific groups located. Service providers, whether it's STI, HIV screening or family planning services as provided through your franchise network. Maybe even maps that show your BCC interventions, like in Tanzania. We saw those maps that are generated on a monthly basis that show all the villages that have been visited and how many people were reached, what date did they visit it, which type of intervention was it, and so on and so on. And that will really allow you to take a more systematic approach to mapping out your outlets, your service providers, the franchise network, and in the end come up with a geo database, a geo-reference database, a mappable database of these priority prevention areas and different types of intervention sites, which will then become really interesting if you can also add demographic data, socioeconomic data, maybe epidemiological data. If you can have maps that show HIV prevalence or malaria transmission rates or any kind of relevant epidemiological data and demographic data, will really help you to see specific distribution patterns and to better target your interventions to make sure that you reach the right people in the right places. And that's really what these maps are all about. Now, maybe before I go into a more live demo on both Google Maps, MapMaker, Google Earth, any questions so far? Yes,
how does this information stay current? Or how current is the information set there?
The information that's already in Google Earth and Google Maps, or our own information?
The one that's in Google Maps and Google Earth.
Well, there's two types of data. One is the satellite imagery, which Google is constantly updating. And here, if you zoom into your house, you can maybe even see your dog or your bike standing out there. If you do this in rural Ethiopia, you'll just see you're